The internet turned the Epstein story into a name list hunt. But the real question is simpler. What do the documents actually prove, and what is everyone projecting onto them? Online, the phrase Epstein files has become a catch-all for suspicion. Social media threads, podcasts, and tabloid headlines swirl together court documents, flight logs, gossip, and grainy photos into a single haze of implication. The result is a kind of digital myth-making. If a name appears anywhere near the story, it gets folded into a shadowy master list. People search for their favorite celebrities, politicians, or business leaders, hoping or fearing to find them connected by a line in a spreadsheet or a blurry image from a party decades ago. But the reality is much messier. The actual records span millions of pages, scattered across lawsuits, federal raids, and investigative reports. Some documents are sworn testimony, others are just contact books, guest lists, or marketing emails. A name in a flight log means travel, not necessarily wrongdoing. An appearance in an email might be nothing more than a newsletter or a forwarded article. Photos can capture a handshake at a charity gala, not a criminal conspiracy. Yet the internet narrative rarely pauses to ask what any particular record actually proves, or what it cannot possibly show. This confusion is not accidental. The media environment rewards stories that collapse all distinctions. A redacted court filing gets treated like a confession. A mention in a contact book becomes an accusation. Even mainstream outlets have sometimes blurred these lines, running stories on who is in the files without clarifying what those files actually are or what legal weight they carry. The public, left with fragments and speculation, fills in the blanks with whatever fits their expectations or fears. The effect is a kind of evidence inflation. The more names that surface, the more it seems like everyone is involved, even when the documents themselves do not support that leap. Rumors about blackmail tapes, secret tunnels, or coded messages circulate through group chats and YouTube exposes, often without a single verifiable source. Meanwhile, the underlying systems that allowed Epstein to operate, including elite networking, philanthropic events, ignored complaints, and institutional inertia, get lost in the hunt for the next big name. What is at stake is not just the reputation of famous figures, it is the public's ability to tell the difference between documented fact, rumor, and outright fiction. If every appearance in the files is treated as evidence of guilt, the real lessons of the case risk being drowned out by noise. The Epstein story is not a Hollywood list. It is a case study in how power, access, and institutions can fail at the same time. Do you think society confuses association with guilt, or protects the powerful too easily? The Epstein files are not a single archive, but a mosaic of records drawn from courtrooms, government raids, and years of reporting. Sorting these documents into categories reveals what is actually known and what remains uncertain. Each record type carries its own weight and risk of misinterpretation. Court filings and depositions form the backbone. Lawsuits like Giuffre versus Maxwell, criminal indictments, plea agreements, and sworn testimony all fall here. A name in a deposition or court order means legal involvement, sometimes as a witness, sometimes as an alleged victim, sometimes mentioned in passing. These documents are the strongest sources for verified claims, but context is everything. An accusation in a civil complaint is not a conviction. Court records often come heavily redacted, especially to protect victims, and not every claim is tested or upheld in court. Travel records, such as flight logs and boat manifests, are another core group. These logs show who traveled on Epstein's jets or visited his properties. They are factual, names, dates, and destinations, but they reveal nothing about motives or actions. A name in a flight log proves travel, not behavior. Contact books and address lists, including the redacted versions released by the Department of Justice, list hundreds of names, some well-known, others obscure. Being listed means someone's contact information was recorded, not that they had a personal relationship or any involvement in crimes. Seized evidence inventories document physical items collected during raids, passports, hard drives, photographs, and cash. These inventories confirm what was found, but details are often blacked out. In 2019, a search of Epstein's New York mansion produced hundreds of compact discs and hard drives, but public records rarely reveal their contents. The existence of seized media is a fact. What is on them is often unknown. Materials from investigative reporting and released photographs add another layer. News clippings, emails, and images sometimes enter court as exhibits or are released by authorities. A photo might show a handshake at a gala or a shared table at a fundraiser, but it does not prove conspiracy or misconduct. Emails can be as mundane as a newsletter or a forwarded article. These are reported connections, not evidence of wrongdoing. Across all these records, tags like documented, reported, disputed, or unknown help separate what is proven from what is alleged. The critical distinction remains. Association does not equal guilt. The files reveal a network, not a conspiracy. Presence in a log, contact book, or photo is not evidence of a crime. Little St. James became a symbol in headlines and online forums, but the reality of the island is harder to pin down. Publicly available images show manicured lawns, a main villa perched above the shoreline, a helipad, and a handful of guest cabanas, features common to high-end Caribbean retreats. There's a blue-striped building that drew endless speculation, but official documents released under the Epstein Files Transparency Act listed only as a gym and office with no mention of secret rooms or hidden passageways. Search warrants and property records released to date offer only fragments. Inventories from the 2019 FBI raid in New York itemize hundreds of compact discs, hard drives, and notepads. But when it comes to the island itself, the records are sparse. There are item numbers 1B146 and 1B145, but no details about what those items actually are. No utility bills, staff rosters, contractor invoices, or building permits have been made public. U.S. Virgin Islands property search tools confirm the parcel's ownership and zoning, but provide no insight into daily operations or infrastructure. Much of what gets repeated online, including tunnels, surveillance cameras, and elaborate underground systems, remains in the realm of rumor. No court documents or official inventories verify these claims. The absence of such records does not prove or disprove the stories. It simply leaves a gap that speculation rushes to fill. What is documented are the surface layers, the luxury amenities above, the docks and storage sheds below, the logistics of running a remote property that hosted staff, guests, and supplies. These are concrete details, and they form the basic outline. The missing details matter. Without shipping manifests, payroll records, or maintenance logs, it is impossible to reconstruct the full operational reality. What is left is a tension between what is seen in glossy aerial photos and what is missing from the paperwork. The island's reputation as a fortress of secrets is built as much on these gaps as on what is actually known. In the end, the evidence supports only a basic outline: luxury above, logistics below. No more, no less. The rest is a mirror for public imagination, shaped by what the records cannot or will not reveal. Red carpets and charity galas have always been the connective tissue of Hollywood and high society. In the world mapped by the Epstein files, these events appear again and again, not as evidence of conspiracy, but as the backdrop for networking. The same faces turn up in press photos, fundraising dinners, and foundation board meetings. These appearances are documented in the files as news clippings, guest lists, and marketing emails. The sheer frequency of such events, dozens each season, with hundreds of invitations circulating among studios, agencies, and philanthropic circles, creates a dense web of proximity. Contact books and email chains reveal the mechanics behind this network. A name might show up because of a shared charity board, a mutual friend, or a celebrity auction. In Epstein's files, entertainers like Sarah Jessica Parker and Robert De Niro appear in emails as recipients of ticket offers or as mentions in news articles. Phil Collins and Minnie Driver are listed in contact books, sometimes with nothing more than a manager's phone number. These records reflect the business of visibility, being seen, being accessible, and maintaining status within the industry's inner circles. Philanthropy, too, plays a central role. High-profile galas often double as showcases for influence, with hosts eager to seat the well-known next to the wealthy. Shared board memberships, sometimes with as many as 20 or 30 prominent names, blur the lines between professional obligation and personal association. In this environment, a photo can capture a handshake, a smile, or a brief conversation, but it cannot document intent or involvement. The files show how the incentives of Hollywood and elite society reward proximity. For many, being photographed at the right table or included in the right email chain is a form of currency. But none of these traces, no matter how many times they are shared online, constitute proof of wrongdoing. The difference between a network and a conspiracy is not just legal, it is structural. The records document a system built on access and appearance, not on secret plots. Understanding this distinction is essential before climbing the next rung on the evidence ladder. Sorting through the Epstein files means climbing an evidence ladder where each rung has its own weight and its own limits. At the base is contact, a name in a contact book, an email address, a phone number. Phil Collins and Minnie Driver appear in Epstein's contact lists released by the Department of Justice after 2025, sometimes listed only as business managers or agents. Sarah Jessica Parker and Robert De Niro show up in marketing emails, event invites, ticket offers, or news clippings sent to or about Epstein. These records confirm only that a name was recorded or a message sent, not that a relationship existed or that any meeting took place. The next rung is travel. Flight logs, like the manifests from Epstein's Gulfstream N212JE, document who boarded a jet, on which date, and to which destination. Bill Clinton's name appears on 26 flights between 2002 and 2003, sometimes without Secret Service, according to FAA records. But the logs say nothing about what happened on board or at the destination. For most Hollywood names, there is no public flight log entry at all, only the persistent rumor that they might have traveled. Above that is communication. Here the files include emails and correspondence. A 2011 Ticketmaster email to Epstein mentions Sarah Jessica Parker and Roger Daltrey, but the content is promotional, not personal. Kimball Musk, for instance, is referenced in over 140 emails, often in group threads about social events. These communications show access, but not intent or behavior. Testimony is a much higher bar. Sworn depositions like those from the Giuffre versus Maxwell case carry the force of law. In one 2016 deposition, witness Johanna Sjoberg was asked if she ever met Michael Jackson or Leonardo DiCaprio. She answered no. No Hollywood figure appears in these depositions as an accused party or as a witness to criminal conduct. Where testimony exists, it often distances celebrities from the core allegations. At the very top is criminal charge. Despite millions of pages and years of investigation, no Hollywood entertainer has been charged in connection with Epstein's crimes. The latter stops well short of prosecution. Even when a name appears in contact books, emails, or flight logs, the chain of evidence rarely climbs past travel or communication, let alone sworn testimony or charges. This hierarchy matters. It is easy to conflate a name on a list with proof of guilt, but most chains break long before reaching the courtroom. The difference between presence and participation is the gap where rumor takes hold. Understanding the evidence ladder is the only way to separate what is documented from what is merely imagined. Stories about hidden cameras and blackmail have circulated for years, often amplified by online forums and viral videos. But when forensic analysts examine the actual records, the picture is far less certain. Inventories from FBI raids in 2019 list hundreds of compact discs, hard drives, and other media seized from Epstein's properties, each item tagged and numbered, but with contents almost entirely redacted or unreleased. No public inventory or court filing has ever confirmed the existence of blackmail tapes featuring Hollywood figures. Victim statements and depositions sometimes reference cameras or suggest recordings might exist, but these are reported allegations, not documented evidence. No audiovisual exhibit has ever been released that substantiates the most sensational claims. Forensic chain of custody protocols require a clear, traceable record from seizure to courtroom. In the Epstein files, that chain stops at the inventory list. The gap between what is rumored and what is proven is wide. As of now, camera claims remain unsubstantiated, often reported, sometimes alleged, but never confirmed by any released document. The difference between rumor and record is not just technical, it is the line that separates suspicion from fact. In elite circles, proximity is currency. The records show how entertainers, executives, and philanthropists move through the same events, not because of secret pacts, but because the system itself rewards visibility and access. Fundraising galas and charity boards are engines for influence where invitations double as signals of status. For many, declining a high-profile event is riskier than attending, especially when careers depend on being seen in the right rooms. Institutions, meanwhile, often lack the oversight to question these patterns. Background checks are rare for donors, and due diligence can be sacrificed for the promise of a headline or a large check. When red flags do surface, like Epstein's 2008 conviction, organizations sometimes look away, rationalizing that a single attendee cannot taint an entire event. The files reveal a world where social climbing, networking, and the optics of philanthropy overshadow caution. These are not the mechanics of a conspiracy, but of a system that prizes connections over scrutiny. The result is a network that absorbs risk, blurs the lines between association and endorsement, and makes it easy for problems to go unnoticed until it is too late. Every name, every claim, every connection must pass a simple test. If it is not sourced, it is not said. This is the discipline that separates reporting from rumor. Journalists rely on attribution standards set by the Associated Press and other major outlets, rules designed to protect both the public and the people named. A statement is tied to a document, a court record, or a direct quote. If a name appears in a flight log or deposition, the source is made explicit. If a claim comes from a lawsuit or a sworn statement, it is labeled as such. Anything less risks turning suspicion into accusation, and accusation into defamation. Legal consequences are not hypothetical, and outlets have faced lawsuits for blurring these lines. The safest path is the clearest. Describe only what the documents show, attribute every fact, and avoid loaded terms like alleged unless the context demands it. The rule is strict for a reason. In a story where reputations and trust are on the line, citation is not just a formality, it is the only safeguard against error and the only guarantee that the truth, not speculation, survives the noise. Today, the records show more about how influence operates than who is guilty. When access, reputation, and silence overlap, the truth gets clouded, not clarified. Power entangles itself in philanthropy, networking, and neglected warnings. The Epstein story is not a Hollywood list. It is a case study in how power, access, and institutions can fail at the same time. Do you think society confuses association with guilt, or protects the powerful too easily?